African World War. The first thing is that we need to address here the conflict was fought between both ethnic and national lines. We like to mount before the channel of politicalism and been messier, at least, as it turns out when you draw national borders without any regards of pro-existent culturing, you tend to create some countries full of people that don't get along too nicely. And more importantly, the translation of force of the story had loosely detained the Ifavian group of the African lakes and the African people. They long dominated the population on the same area. The realization of 1944 Hunt was prepared for a large-scale, mostly Andor genocide, creating a Tanishu and not come back to Rancho stuff. Great many films of the most powerful disrespected regions. The second bit that he said of the First Congo argued the same conflict. Of the Second Congo War was in 1997, led by the coalition of the Democratic Forces. Liberal Congo withdrew from the Amastalization. The Congo later returned, and the Republic of Zanta established a military nearby, and millions practically of the Wakandu and the Wakandi, controlled by the Tarisio, dominated government Wandashio movement, moved out of the sturdy border, and they were pushed back into their own country. Now they're being forced out and completely wiped off the board, nearly disintegrating. The government of the Zanta of the capital was bombed, and Sun Curly of the academic forces had backed the group, engaged in cross-border fighting, kidnapped and allied democratic different groups, some allied to the democratic forces, some allied to the Kanakanda forces, vastly interests of creating a secure state that would defend the both of them. In view of the affect that would able to take control of the people of 1977, marking the First Congo War. Unfortunately for everyone, the peace lasted only about a year. After the Congo's first discovery of the new leader's Democratic Republic, they decided to go east on the military, and they decided to ask them to go home, and decided to have foreign regions become citizens of the president, the new puppet who had the power. Meanwhile, those who put in power wished that he had a better puppet. Unable to have the system removed, fighters raiding of the Afghanistan and the African continent was common. Tertial and tertial, guns and weapons, and most importantly, power. He might able to establish the regional political base. Well, he succeeded in doing so himself. Some former allies invaded, and the Second Congo War started. This is 14th of June 1988 to 10th of June 2000. He directly dismantled the Libyan Chief of Staff, James Kabartmo, formally requested that all the Ganto military units leave the country. Of August 10th of the brigade, they all left, and they made out of the turf forces announced the defection of the government, rearmed themselves, and rallied for the Democratic or CDR that was backed by Congo and Agenda. They were allying up. Now, they had pushed the invasion, with two countries of radioactive war have already wanted this conditional struck of the first deposition ball, and 2 days later, an attack which was called Operation Cannonball, led an unemployed blah blah blah. On the August 4th, 200 agendas of troops flew from commercial planes, stormed. Now, only 200 miles away from Pakistan, the undefended base quickly was much taken to the de facto continuity of the rebels. staggering, and the further troops of supplies of the next day combined the defectors and the refectors of the Armed Forces Rebellion, nearly 5,000 troops, shrinking into the distance of August 5th into stupid attack, seemed the political overman's government of now any meaningful resistance solution, especially dire after they captured numbers of cities in the Congo central capital. Now, most importantly, Madao, in just 3 days in August 14, invading force took the dams and the critical point power of the Kanishsa, the capital. The alliance was critical, and the Mars was unlikely fighting against the Manbu. This was it to turn against its own people, willing to fail to defend Ababarba, first most important allies, providing air support and armor for the Kagin forces, despite needing these new players involved to potentially to invade forces. These march have been successful and completely took its capital and its allies.